Hi everybody, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. We are, as always, your hosts ARNE CARLOS, and with this video we are starting a new little mini-series that we want to do, now and then. We're going to be talking about the history of some of the most iconic patterns that we have in Norway. And in connection with that, we have designed a pair of socks that you can see here. Got a beautiful pair of socks with a very interesting technique for the toe and for the heel that we will be talking about later. But I just want to say, if you think this is a sock tutorial, you're going to be a little disappointed maybe, but hopefully we will make it up to you when we tell you the story of this pattern. And if you want to knit these socks, there is a pattern that we've made up and is available on our website, on our web shop at ARNECARLOS.com. So you can go there and download this pattern and knit these really cool pairs of socks.
But I brought this swatch, so I will knit through the pattern just to show you how we knit the pattern.
Oh, so there is a kind of a tutorial, but it's not
really
sock
a tutorial. It's not a sock tutorial. A
pattern tutorial. Okay, Arne, so are we going to talk a little bit about the pattern first?
Today we will talk a little bit about this pattern. This is it's a very old traditional pattern used in Norway, but it's also used in Lithuania. So like this piece we made in our collections many years ago.
It's a cape.
It's a cape, and it's actually directly from a Lithuanian mitten. So we made this Lithuanian mitten into a cape, and we also have this nice book we brought to show you. We found this book in the museum in Fagernes, close to where we live.
It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful book which we really hardly recommend, and it's a lot of mittens. And here you can see.
Okay, let me just before you start, Arne, let me just show. Let's just show the book. We're going to put this on the blog as well for people that might be interested. Her name is Maruta Grasmane, and the Norwegian translation of what it says here is just Latvian mittens. So look for that if you're interested. Look for it on Google, on Amazon, in your local bookstore. And I'm putting this as well on our blog so that you can find the resource, hopefully.
And this is a new book for us. We have an older one, which we used when we did this collection, but here you can actually see the mitten with the squared, the shock pattern. Chess. Shock, that's Norwegian. Chess pattern. And when you talk about this pattern, like we read in the book that this is like the chess is the fight between the bad and the good, the evil and the good. So, but if you wanna read more about these patterns, we can recommend the book. I think you have the book. It's a really good book.
Which book?
Oh, this one.
Oh,
I have it. Sorry,
I didn't have it.
This one, if you want to read more about the old Norwegian patterns and what the meaning is, we can recommend this. And we have to put this also on our blog. This is the Norwegian version of Annemor Sundbø. It's called Usynlige tråder I strikkekunsten. And the English title is Invisible Threads in Knitting.
And there is an English version?
It's an English version.
Perfect.
And I checked it. It's on Amazon, and I guess you can get it from your local
So very
store.
quickly tell you about Annemor Sundbø, who is a wonderful person who we know personally. She's very distantly related to Arne, and she's also from Setesdal. She's from Setesdal and Gudbrandsdal, so she has the same combo that Arne has in his DNA. He's also Setesdal and Gudbrandsdal, and she is a phenomenal expert on cultural history concerning knitting, and she's even been rewarded by the King of Norway with a medal for her work. She's incredible. So this book is highly recommended if you want to know more about the history, the cultural history of knitting in Norway.
Where this pattern came from, or
so we're going to
the meaning.
We're going to put the link to this book on the blog so that you can just click on it and go directly to Amazon or whatever.
So when we did our Christmas ball book, this is the French version, Boule de Noël. We have one ball which we called Dovre, this one. In this one we use this chess pattern. The reason why we call it the Dovre pattern is that we have this old pattern from my grandmother, this one, and it's called Dovre. This jacket is called Dovre.
And this was issued by Sandnes, which is still in existence. And it was issued probably in the early 60s, as you can see from the photograph. I think we're identifying that as early 60s.
And this is cool. I see like the notes from my grandmother. She said from my grandfather she cast on 300 stitches and then she increased 36. So she measured and checked the size because there's no 300 in the pattern.
That's cool, yeah.
I think it's cool just to see how people actually changed it.
And because
also
there's some interesting text up there. Whatever. And also because Sandnes called this jacket Dovre. Dovre, by the way, is a place in Norway, mountainous area.
Yeah.
There's a Dovrefjell as well, which is a range of mountains called Dovre. And because they called it Dovre, this has stuck in our mind. And so for us, this pattern is always Dovre, but it has another name, or it comes from another area, apparently.
I actually, that I don't know.
No, but it's called differently.
No, it doesn't have a name in this one.
Oh, okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
Because in this book, the Norske strikkemønstre,
From
Anniken Sibben-Bøhn, this is a new version. We have the old one from the 20s. This is from 47. So in this book, there are extra pieces in the back. There's like patterns for jackets and sweaters in the back, which you can't find in the old one. But in this one, there's a mitten for a kid from Hallingdal.
Oh, that's what I meant. It says Hallingdal there.
Yeah. So it's the same pattern, but from Hallingdal. That's way over the mountain on that side.
And because Anniken Sibben-Bøhn has published this book in 1927, we know that this pattern is an old pattern. It probably dates to the 19th century, sometime. I don't know, but sometime in the 19th century, mid to late 19th century, it was created, I suppose, in Norway. But it's not Norwegian; it's universal, as we can see from this book. So patterns travel around, but it's an old
it's an old pattern. And also, when you think about knitting or color work, that the reason why they did color work was to make it double, to make it more warm. So this pattern is really the basic because there is no more than 3 stitches between each color. So it's a very easy pattern to knit.
Yeah, and it's a very fun pattern to knit as well. I always love knitting the Christmas ball from Dovre. It's my favorite because you're always doing the color work.
And there's no carrying.
You don't have to carry, you don't have to twist. It always goes by itself. And this is what it looks like from the inside. So there is a really important purpose to a pattern like this. A pattern like this was knitted to create a double layer and to create heat. So you can see how it layers really nicely all the floats, and you have a really nice and warm garment to wear.
And I brought some of our design books because sometimes I clean the computer because there's so much drawings and pictures. So I like to make these books. So I collect all the design work, pictures and drawings and pictures from travels we did with the design. So in this book, I have kept some of the old drawings or sketches. We have never made these pieces, but this is another take on the Dovre pattern, which we call the pattern we call Dovre, the chess or the. And on this one, we really enlarged it. So you see on the maybe you can't see it, but maybe on the other camera, that one square is a lot of stitches. So we just make it oversized. So this is also a way that we work with old design, and we try to make them
into new designs. Yeah. Do you have a photo of this one?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we have in this one, we have.
Oh, it's there again.
Yeah, this is the same pattern,
but
another version.
We never actually made those.
No.
But that one we made.
This one we made. This is the men's version of a knitted jacket with the inspiration from the mitten.
The old mitten, yeah.
And this is a pattern we did where we played with the knit and purl. It had nothing to do with the chess, the Dovre. And we have a picture of a girl wearing the cape. This picture was taken by a photographer we work a lot with. His name is Ragnar Hartvik. And he took this picture in Greenland, I think it was,
And it's with this cape.
with a cape.
Or sweater, cape, poncho, I don't know, whatever it's called.
So all this collection was inspired of the mittens.
So we're getting a
Yes.
little rain now, which is
Yeah.
lovely. Summer rain, we love it so much. We're in the greenhouse. There's a glass ceiling, so we can hear the sound of the rain right now. And it's actually very soothing and very relaxing.
Yeah,
And we're spending a lovely time
You forget
here.
what you should talk about.
Yeah, spending a lovely time looking at all these gorgeous designs and patterns, and just, yeah, very nice.
And then the sock we made. This is a sock with the chest pattern, just to make it more alive, kind of. You bring the pattern comes to life. Yeah, something like that. And it's knitted in this
4-ply regia.
ply regia.
So
It's
regia-
the same thickness as
The sock yarns
the
that
sock
we
yarn.
designed for regia. So regia does both the colorful sock yarns that are self-patterning, but you can also get them in single solid shades like this blue one or the ones that we've used.
Yeah,
We've
so
used
this is
a gray, a
those
white,
colors.
brown, and a brown for our socks.
And on this one, we have color work all over. And then on a sock like this, we actually do the reinforced heel. This is an afterthought heel,
And it's
but we knitted that with the reinforced technique.
And
the
it's an eye of partridge.
eye of partridge, and also on the toe.
And there's a very big reason for why we have put an eye of partridge heel and toe on the sock, that when we explain it to you, you're going to say, aha, that really makes sense. So take it away.
It's because when you do color work, it gets thicker.
Double.
If you do the heel and the toe with the stockinette, it will be so much thinner. So that's why we do the eye of partridge, to have the same thickness. And you can do that on any heel, I guess. We do it on a normal heel with the heel flap and the turning heel, and we do it on the afterthought heel.
And now I suppose people are saying, eye of partridge, have they made a video tutorial on that? Where I've never heard that before. Well, we have made a video tutorial, and you'll probably see a link popping up somewhere above his head or my head, and you can go and have a look at our eye of partridge video tutorial to learn how to do this stitch.
Yeah, and this yarn is quite thin, so if you're not a very experienced knitter, I think you have to practice a little bit, because it's so easy to pull the yarn too much. So, but don't worry about it. If it gets nicer after a while.
So Arne, I'm
then
so
I will knit
excited.
through the pattern just to show you how we knit it.
Yeah, I want to see you knit the pattern. I'm so excited about that, because there's a rhythm to this pattern, because you're doing the square, which is 3 stitches, and then you do 1, 1, 1, 1, and then you do the square. It's really lovely, so you'll see the rhythm.
So I can knit those 4 rounds just to show you how
And the
we
cool
do
thing
it.
about this pattern, it's so logical that once you've knitted a row or two, you don't even have to look at the chart anymore, because it always makes sense, because you have them, the squares and the crosses are staggered. Perfect.
So now I use my pedagogic
Yeah,
needles,
your educational needles.
educational needle, and a thicker yarn, so it's easier. So now when I start, I have to make 1 round with blue. Then I keep the gray on the finger, not to avoid the ladder, because it's easy to make a ladder if you don't know how to do it, but it's easier to avoid it if you put the gray on the finger. So then I throw the first stitches, then I put the blue on the finger, and you just knit normally around. So this is like the relaxing round. Because
I think they're all relaxing in
every
this particular-
4th round is 1 color. This makes a nice noise also.
Yeah, they said they didn't, but they do. These are the pre-ergonomic needles that we're using, and they are made of a composite material, and they were supposed to be silent, but they're not. And I actually like the sound of clicking needles and the rain. It's very soothing.
It's very nice.
Nice and soothing.
Soothing. So 2 more needles, so be patient. And now I think I'll show you how we do it, and maybe some people get upset because we're not doing it the right way in other places.
Well, a right way here, a right way there. a wrong way here, a wrong way here. There, I mean, it's all different, and people do it whatever way they want to do it.
Yeah, so
just as long as they're enjoying it.
That's the blue round. And now you start your first round with color, and then you have 3 of the gray, then you have 1 gray, 1 blue, and 1 gray in the cross. So what you do is you start with blue, so you keep the blue on the finger. You knit the first blue. Now you have to start with the gray, but when you go from this round, where the yarn is, up to the next, be careful not to pull too much, because then you will, the last gray one will disappear. So you put the yarn on the needle like this. So what we do now is we put the gray on the finger, because that feels more quick. Because the one you use the most is more practical to keep that on the finger. And you check that the tension is even. Then you go to the next one.
Great rhythm to that pattern, Arne.
Yeah.
So when you knit that needle, we need to talk a little bit about how or when a sweater or a knitting stitch or a pattern becomes iconic. And this one has a very interesting story that we're going to tell you.
Yeah.
Just finish that needle, and then I'm going to tell you the story.
Yeah, then I finish this, and then I start the next round, and then you can tell the story. So.
Okay.
No, a little bit more.
Yeah, but I'm going to be telling the story now.
Tell the story.
As you remember from earlier in this episode, we're talking about the pattern, and here it says it's a child's mitten from Hallingdal. Hallingdal is a valley in southern Norway, not so far away from here. It doesn't necessarily mean that the pattern comes from Hallingdal. It just means that this mitten was found there. And as we already said, there is a tradition for this pattern in Latvia, and it's probably also traditional in many, many other places. However, in Norway, this pattern is iconic for one reason, and one reason only. And it's because in 1940, Norway was invaded by Germany. And when that happened, it wasn't deemed safe for the royal family to stay in Norway. So it was decided that the king and the crown prince would remain, and that the crown princess Märtha and her 3 children, Princess Ragnhild, Princess Astrid, and Prince Harald, that they would escape and leave Norway and travel to safety. So they traveled to Sweden. It wasn't deemed safe there either for them, so they ended up going to the USA. And now what's interesting is that we have a photograph of Prince Harald here, and Prince Harald is wearing a sweater with a pattern. I'm going to put this here on the table so that it doesn't move around too much, and I'll tell you a little bit more about who he is. So, Prince Harald, who escaped the Nazis in 1940 together with his mother and his 2 sisters, is today King Harald of Norway. So he is our king, and our king was wearing this sweater when he escaped from the Nazis. So this sweater is known in Norway as Prince Harald's sweater now, and even if the pattern is from, say, the middle of the 19th century, or maybe a little bit younger than that, and for sure before 1827, when this book was published, it existed anyway. So anyway, it doesn't matter how old the sweater is, but this sweater became iconic the moment the prince, the hereditary prince of Norway, wore it to escape the Nazis, was photographed with it. And now most Norwegian knitters, if you tell them in Norway, if you tell them, I want to knit Prince Harald's sweater, they know exactly which sweater it is. And what you can't see from this photograph, because it's a black and white photograph, but I know and Arne knows that it was knitted in red and white. So that's the original color of Prince Harald's sweater. Yes. So there you have a piece of Norwegian history, cultural history, where we're putting traditional knitting in a content traditional knitting in a context. And it's easy for people to identify the sweater now, thanks to His Majesty the King of Norway.
Okay, now I finished round 2. So on round 2, as you saw, I had the blue on the the gray on the finger, and I was throwing the blue. Now I go on the round 3, where I use blue more, or it feels like I'm using blue more, or it feels more easy. So now I put blue on the finger, and then I knit with the blue and I'm throwing the gray. And this is where people get really upset, because they say you shouldn't change, but that's how we do it because it's quicker. And I can
it's
just
the Norwegian way.
Yeah. And then the next round you continue, you do exactly like you did on the second round. So the yarn is going from one side to the other, and you're checking constantly that the tension is nice. And
yeah, very nice.
gray
So
on the finger, and you.
So we hope that you found this talk about history enlightening, and I think it's always nice to put an iconic pattern in the same context as history. So until next time, we will probably do more episodes like this. Tell us if you like it on the comments, and if you don't like it, tell us anyway, and then we'll, and
then
tell us why.
Then we will stop doing it.
If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And remember that the ARNE CARLOS family is growing and growing and growing, and there's place for everybody here. So please hit the subscribe button if you want to subscribe and be part of it.
And there's a pattern for this.
And there's a pattern for the socks available on our website. So, Arne, let's put this here, the lovely Dovre, as we call it. Some people call it Prince Harald's sweater or pattern, and some people call it the pattern from Hallingdal. Whatever it is called, it is lovely. Thank you so much for watching, and see you again next time.
See you!
Bye!